In this video, we are going to be talking about one of the essentials in KVK, which is farm filling. In particular, this video is actually going to be about offensive farm filling. For context, we've been in the Zone 7, burning forts for about 7 days now. I think it's been about a week since the pass opened. And yeah, we've been burning a lot of forts over and over and over again. And one of the concerns about burning forts is they are very punishing in terms of deads. And you know, we still have Kingsland. Technically our strongest opponent, which is Water Camp, is waiting for us completely fresh for Kingsland. So we're trying to balance out how to stay fresh while also pushing our enemies back. The answer to that question is farm filling. I'm sure you guys have heard of battle farms or from other content creators, but I never covered it before. And I also wanted to cover specifically offensive farm filling, which is due to the fact that we've been doing it for so long in this KVK. If we do end up doing defensive farm filling, maybe I'll make another video about that in the Kingsland fight. All right, let's get into it. Before we get into the actual micro of farm filling, you do have to prepare your farm accounts a little bit here. And before you start farm filling, I think the most important thing is to make sure your farm is on territory. When you farm fill, you will get War Frenzy. And when you're off territory in KVK, your city is swarmable. For example, my farm right now is 44.3 million power. If, you know, whales could just walk up to your account while you're busy looking at a rally, for example, looking at a building, and then just swarm down your account, and then all of your troops that you have on your account will no longer be able to fill, and you know, that farm account is pretty much out for the KVK. You definitely do not want that to happen. Make sure you're on territory, make sure you're safe. That is going to be tip number one. Tip number two is going to be preparing your marches. You definitely want to have as many troops inside of your farms as possible. The thing about offensive farm filling is because you are going to be out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of enemy territory, they're probably going to hit you a little bit. You want to make sure your farms are as full as possible. Just because, you know, walking, for example, if I walk one of my troops over to the fort that we're currently burning, it'll take about like 4 minutes ish, 4 minutes, 5 minutes to walk over there, especially if we're filling, since we're filling with infantry. So you definitely want to make sure that your marches get there as fast as possible and that they have as many troops as possible. When it comes to filling, obviously the best way is to fill 100k each, or some people even fill 50k each, and just to keep it topped off as much as possible. But when you're going into an opponent fort and you know they're sniping all of your farm marches, you definitely just want to have as many troops as possible. Another thing, except for level 60, is for your talents. I didn't do this on my farm accounts, but definitely when I have time, maybe next off season, we'll do a whole stream about optimizing my farm accounts. Try to get as much march speed as possible. For peacekeeping commanders, thoroughbreds gives you a lot of march speed. You could also, you know, try to use the mobility tree commanders. There's a lot of march speed in the mobility tree. Just try to get as much march speed as possible through these talents on your farm accounts. And for equipment and gear, you know, going for windswept, get that march speed there, and also triple line. And you can maybe try to get some formations for triple line as well with your troops here, just to make sure that you go as fast as possible. You're not going to trade positively if you ever get farm sniped or farm killed in this situation, but the best thing to do with your farm accounts is to avoid a fight altogether, which to do so, you know, movement speed is king. Okay, so this is going to be a live clip of me offensive farm filling. We have one of my main farms, one of my first farms inside of the rally. The safest way to fill is to be in the initial rally so that you don't have to walk into your opponent's side. But if you weren't able to get in there, that's all good. We can see that the rally is walking up, and the way that I kind of fill, and the reason why I'm posting this probably after until this fort wall burns so that they don't snipe my farm accounts here, is there's kind of like a little bit of a, as we see the counter rally coming out, there's kind of a little bit of a gather node, a node highway here, where you can go from, all of my farms here are inside of cities nearby so that they don't get sniped out while out in the open field. So what I usually do is there's this little bit of a highway here, and you can see some people are trying to snipe these marches. So I try to get my farms inside of these nodes as much as possible so that you know, they could be as safe as possible. We see Panther covering the highway here, as much as possible here, and then I'm just gonna, you know, sneak around, try to walk around these farm killers as they, you know, try to snipe me out here. Go walk into my allies so that they take as much damage as possible. And they're kind of just suiciding for this farm, but it's alright. And I guess it did go to half health, but that's all good. They're just gonna sad face their march for T4 kills and and you know, they're gonna get a full hospital on their main, which costs them main speed ups and stuff, and this is just gonna be farm speed ups in my case. So that's kind of the big trade that is super relevant for these farm fillers is even for training, even if you get deads here, I'm gonna go ahead and flip the march here. Even for deads, you're kind of trading your main account, their main account deads, and well, you're kind of trading in that situation in particular when they're trying to snipe your marches. You're trading their full sad-faced hospital, the full sad-faced march rather, for your farm. And you know, overall, like it tends to be a positive trade, because what are you gonna really do with your farm account speed ups? Maybe train some more troops to farm fill, but overall it tends to be a pretty acceptable trade there. You can see that we are trying to continue to keep this rally full. I'm gonna go ahead and let this march go home, and then I'm gonna go continue the process here with bus drivers. Oh no, this is PJ. Wow, I didn't know we had another person running a siege march, but apparently PJ is running one. And you can see like a lot of people are following this this node highway that we got going on here. I'm just continuing to try to stuff this rally as much as possible. Another thing about swarming in general is you can see that we have farmers' farm being attacked by a bunch of Trojans and such, just trying to preload the swarmers as much as possible so that they get as much rage as possible. And then yeah, when I get next to the rally, like around at least 5 seconds in, but you know, 2 seconds works too, so that you could just fill the rally as fast as possible here. And there you go. That's what you gotta do to farm fill. I mean, that's a faster way home. It is pretty painful, you know. You do get some sebs, especially when you're walking in your opponent's territory, but at the end of the day, like, this is what you gotta do to keep your main accounts fresh, is sacrifice some of your farm account speed ups and such. But yeah, we will continue to try to fill this rally. It's at 2.2, kind of low, but you can see that they have a lot of troops dedicated to just disrupting the flow of farms here, which is smart on their part. There is a Zeno in here. I'm surprised we're not full swarming this yet. Although I guess we're not in that much of a hurry. And yeah, they have farm killers in the back here as well, just, you know, sad facing all the farm account troops nearby. But yeah, just a bunch of farm killers all over the place. We're all like, we've been fighting against them, and they've been, you know, in our rallies, or fighting against our rallies this whole time for like a week straight now, right? So they have their countermeasures, we have our countermeasures. I mean, the fort is looking pretty low. All my farm account, the problem with me is my farm account's so far away. We have so many cities supported up here, that there's barely any spots, and this farm has been the one I've been using the most. It barely has any resources left. We're actually broke on this farm, holy. And it currently has 800k dead, so not doing its job. I think this fort is about to drop here. There you go. And that's how you do it. That's how you farm fill. It is costly. It does, you know, especially when you're as proficient at killing farmers as 1770 and 3125. I think those are two opponents that we're versing. They kill farm accounts like crazy. So but yeah, that's kind of the process of farm filling, just making sure that you're making sure that your marches get to their as fast as possible, but also like if you're in a situation where, because if you're rallying a structure, there should be structures nearby of your side. They're trying to, you know, stay in this side as much as possible, get into the rally, and then when your march is about half health, just swapping the marches so that you can keep that rally full. We could go ahead and look at the report here of that rally. Super positive, 51 million KP to 17.8. I'm sure there were some swarmers there, which is why it looks super positive. But still, it's that is a pretty crazy report. And we also won in terms of deads here, and you could kind of see the report here. We have like one person maybe that filled with a main account, 2 people, 3 people. We do fill with mains when our farms can't reach there, and we saw like they had a lot of farm killers on the way, just blocking our path. But overall, pretty decent in terms of farms. And then if you look at the other side, I mean, I'm not too sure who's a main or who's a farm, but usually you kind of tell by the T5 versus the T4, and you could see a lot of T5 kills inside of this garrison. So, but yeah, that's farm filling.